This is a video that I have been trying to make for a while now, and it wasn't an easy journey. I'm gonna try to be really honest in this video, okay? So I started my Linux journey almost like, how do I zoom in? Okay, thank you. I can do this in Linux too. I'm quite happy with it. Almost like 5 to 6 months ago, and it was fun, my journey. I make like 2 videos, okay, on that, and then I stopped making videos about my Linux journey because of this video. Okay, in this video you'll know everything you need to know about my Linux journey, plus what I think about Linux and all that. Actually, I was gonna make this video about a month ago. This is a picture that I took a month ago when I was recording this exact video. Oh, properties. Okay, now I can show you. So it was like September 25th. Okay, this picture was taken back in like almost a month ago. So basically what happened was that my OBS crashed and I tried recording it multiple times. Sometimes some other errors pop up like this one, okay? Sometimes the encoder, even though I have everything installed properly, then I restarted my system and then it worked, and then I got this error again, not responding, and then I just gave up. Okay, I was like, no, I'm not gonna make this video. But then I think almost a month ago, yeah, at the same time, after 2 or 3 days later, there was a new Ubuntu release which was in beta, and I was like, let's try this out. And I was truly impressed how well this thing actually worked, and all the problems that I was having were just almost gone. And then I used this for a month, almost a month now. Yeah, here I am, and it looks like, yeah, recording is working. Yeah, I'm making the video. Okay. So now let's start this with why Ubuntu. Okay, this is the main topic here. Why? I have written some things here, so I'm gonna be reading here because there are a lot of points that I want to point out. So it's gonna be a kind of long video, I guess. So the question is, why Ubuntu? You know, I have tried almost every Linux distro out there, and let's just say, you know, Ubuntu just works out of the box for most of the things. Okay, you'll have less headaches. That's what I'm trying to say here. So anyone who's trying to get into the Linux world, I suggest you to, you know, try the Ubuntu or any Ubuntu based distros. You'll have much better time on Linux than trying out something else like the Arch, even Fedora or something like that. And I'm using NVIDIA GPU, so most of the issues that I got maybe are related to NVIDIA, okay, because, you know, NVIDIA and Linux doesn't work that well. But guess what? In the latest update of NVIDIA drivers, can I show you guys this? We're gonna talk about the customization too. If you're wondering how I did it and what I'm using, don't worry, okay? So the latest NVIDIA driver, specifically this version, as of making this video, 560 and above, are actually really good. Again, as I said, as soon as I got the Ubuntu, this version, 2410, most of my issues were gone because, first of all, this thing comes with a new kernel, almost like the latest kernel. I think the stable latest kernel, as of making this video, is the 6.11. So Ubuntu is actually now using a latest kernel on every new release, which is actually good. Another reason to use Ubuntu. I gave you the reason why Ubuntu, because it's stable than any other distro out there. And this version of Ubuntu actually comes with 560 NVIDIA drivers, which is just amazing. Ever since I got this update and the new NVIDIA driver with it, I had almost like 0 issues. Okay, let's just say 90% less issues. I know some people are like in the comments, you should try this distro, that distro. Let me tell you, there is nothing better than Ubuntu, in my opinion, or any distro that is based on Ubuntu will work better than any distro out there. People say that Fedora is actually really good, but let me actually show you guys. Where is the Fedora video? Yeah, this one. You know, I also installed Fedora because it has the latest kernel, latest softwares and all that. It sounds good, but it just broke on me within like 5 minutes. As soon as I installed it and then I tried installing the NVIDIA driver, it just boom. Okay, it didn't work. And I wasn't even trying to use Wayland. And there is another thing called Wayland X11, which also makes a new Linux user really confused. Let's just not talk about the desktop environments yet. Okay, so Wayland is a new type of protocol for display. So basically anything that is rendering on your screen, anything that you're seeing is either rendered by the X11 or Wayland. X11 is a old technology or old display server protocol, whatever you want to call it. Wayland is a newer one which works better in some cases, and this is getting improved day by day, and this is going to be the new display protocol thingy in future in Linux, which is already a default in Ubuntu starting from 24.10. The Wayland is actually default, and guess what? It works really well. Okay, let me actually show you guys. And by the way, I'm using this Linux on my main PC, and yes, I have been trying to switch to Linux for real. It's been almost 6 months and I have tried almost everything, and I'm here in Ubuntu, especially on Ubuntu 24.10. Which was recently released actually, and I have been using it for as soon as the beta came out. And you can see Wayland is here. Everything is just working flawlessly. When I was in the X11, there are these issues. Most of the times the apps won't respond or something like that. And there are some other issues. Let me actually find the screenshot. And there is this one, screen goes blank. I don't know why when I was in X11. But again, as I said, as soon as I upgraded to the beta version of 24.10 of Ubuntu, most of the things are just gone. And look at me, I'm actually recording this using a Ubuntu right now. This is being recorded on a same system. Okay, this is something that I want to do. Okay, if I can't work on Linux, then there is no point of me using Linux. But now, starting from the 24.10 Ubuntu, it's actually, yeah, doable. I mean, you can work. Okay, it's much more stable than the previous versions plus the other Linux distros. Okay, I'm getting out of track too easily. Let me actually show you guys some of the videos. This is a video on Ubuntu, I think. I took this up like 1 or 2 months ago. So basically I was in X11 and things were not clicking, or maybe this was in Fedora. Let me see. Okay, wait, I don't know. Okay, so this is Fedora for sure. I'm trying to open the system settings. It just doesn't open, and this is on X11. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you have NVIDIA driver or AMD. X11 should work in most cases, but let's just say it didn't work. Yeah, this is Fedora. It took me 5 minutes for me to make it unusable. It just became unusable. So I just quit with the Fedora, and then I also reinstalled Ubuntu for like 10 to 15 times. I was also configuring different things in Ubuntu, trying to make things work. But there is this thing about Linux, which most people don't talk, or maybe they know, or you also know, that more you play with Linux, there are more chances to break it. Actually, if I try to change anything on the system level, even if I try to install NVIDIA drivers manually, there will be something broken. Staying on the the softwares that Linux distro provides is actually better. And I think in software support, there is also nothing better than Ubuntu. There are many softwares available for Ubuntu plus Debian. Anything that is based on Ubuntu or Debian is actually good to use. If you want a lot more software support and ease of use, it's still not at the level of like Windows, where you just don't have to do anything. Windows just works, just install, and whatever you want to do, it will just work. It's not at that level, but still this thing, the Ubuntu, is actually better plus easy to use distro than anything. Okay, I'm gonna say this again and again. Yeah, this is just my personal opinion plus personal experience that I have gone through in past 6 months. Yeah. Okay, this thing is not loading. Okay, I was gonna show you guys that I'm using the NVIDIA driver that is actually comes with the Ubuntu, and I don't have to, you know, manage my drivers manually. Plus, it's most up-to-date recent version. So that is why I chose to use Ubuntu. Nothing else worked as good as Ubuntu. It actually feels like really stable Linux operating system, in my opinion. So now let's talk about the desktop environment. Why GNOME? Well, I like simple things, okay, as simple as possible. KDE is also good, and there are many, like hundreds, thousands of Linux distros plus window managers. I'm not a window manager guy, so I like the floating window managers, or should I say the desktop environment like the GNOME or KDE. Or there is another desktop environment that I actually really like, which is actually a window manager. This thing is actually really good, especially with the Archcraft, this distro. Wow, this thing looks good, really good. If you want a floating window manager and lightweight window manager, you should try this out. This thing is actually really good. But the problem is it doesn't support the Wayland. And again, as I said, no matter what people say, Wayland is going to be the default thing in future. You know, the transition from X11 to Wayland is happening as I'm making this video. Maybe it will take a couple more years, but it will happen. So it's best to just start using Wayland. And again, as I said, most of the things are gone as soon as I upgraded to 24.10 Ubuntu version, plus the latest NVIDIA driver, plus with the Wayland. Most of the things are just gone that were present in older version of Ubuntu with Wayland plus the X11. Both had issues, but a newer version, almost like 99, no, not 99, but 90% of the issues are gone. So I have also tried this Archcraft. This looks so beautiful. You know, you should try this on VirtualBox at least. This thing is beautiful. Only thing that is missing is Wayland. Plus, there are a couple of other things that I actually need, like the RDP and all that, which this thing doesn't support unless you know how to do the things in Linux, like with command line and all that. But I'm looking for an easy solution. As a desktop environment or window manager, this thing is the best because I like the floating windows. Plus, I also like the window manager concept, but wish we had a two types of things, like you could either use a window manager style with no buttons, or you could use a floating window style with buttons, and you know, you can switch in between them easily. So OpenBox, it is something that I actually want to use, but sadly, again, Wayland thingy, and there are a couple of other things that I can't actually use. So I'm using GNOME because it's minimal, it's beautiful. Most of the apps that are available on Linux are actually made for GNOME, or let's just say the design language is GNOME style. Almost all the applications, unless you use some KDE apps, which will look like a KDE Plasma desktop environment, and it won't fit with the GNOME. But most of the apps that are available for Linux are actually designed to fit with the GNOME. Plus, again, as I said, this is minimal, and yeah, that's it. I like the things simple and minimal. I mean, I can go here, settings, okay. Look at this. This is clean, simple. You can find all your settings easily. In KDE, I get lost pretty easily, even though it looks like the Windows style thingy, but I don't like Windows style thingy actually. Windows also has the new settings app, which actually, lists the settings like in GNOME, okay, which is good. But the control panel thingy is still there, which still confuses me to this day. And I hardly use control panel. If I want to find anything, I always use search and I can find the specific settings. On Linux side, GNOME, is beautiful, simple, easy, and it's also customizable. And you can see this isn't a default GNOME look. Okay, I have actually customized it using a extension manager. Okay, if you're a Linux user, I don't think I need to explain everything about the extension manager and customization. Where's the extension manager here? So I'm just using a couple of extensions here: arc menu, dash to panel, tray icons, which is not required unless you want to use it, user themes, vitals to show the system resources, plus internet download and upload speed. I don't like the Windows look, but I like the Windows simplicity. That's why I have this thing set up like this. Now let's talk about the Linux distros one more time. As I said, I have tried almost all the distros, okay, on a real hardware, okay. In my opinion, all the Linux distros are same. I guess some will do things better than the other because, most of the Linux distros are configured specific way, okay? You may have heard about many Linux distros like Zorin OS and whatnot. Like Zorin OS can run Windows by default and all that because it has the Wine installed or something similar to Wine. You can do that on any Linux distro, but things might not work as good as it works on Zorin OS because it is configured and all that, optimized. So you have to do it on your Linux distro too. If you install the Wine, you have to configure all the files and optimize it and all that. You know what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, at the end of the day, all the Linux distros are same, but there are some Linux distros with big differences like Arch, Debian. They do things differently. One might work better than other one, and I'm not gonna say this one is better or that. Yes, I have also tried Arch. Installing Arch is not a difficult part actually. On the internet, people say Arch is the hardest Linux distro to install and all that. No, it's actually not that difficult. The hardest part is to customize it, to make it work. Okay, that's the hardest part. Arch is like do-it-yourself distro. Let's just say it's for experts, okay? If you know almost everything about Linux, you can make your own, Linux distro or Linux desktop. You can customize it the way you want because Arch Linux doesn't come with anything, okay? You have to add everything into it to make it work. I'm just a regular Windows user who just wants to switch to Linux and just wants to start working straight. If you try to switch to Arch Linux, I'm gonna do it, you'll be spending most of your time troubleshooting different things. Some things will break or configuring something or something. You know what I'm trying to say here. So it's best for a beginner to use a Linux distro that is popular like Ubuntu, Debian, or Linux Mint, anything that is based on Ubuntu or Debian. I didn't get much experience on the Fedora because it just didn't work on my system. I have to pull that video out one more time. Okay, maybe this is not Fedora. Yeah, this one is. Yeah, this one is definitely a Fedora. You can see I'm trying to open the settings. Just as soon as I installed it, I'm just trying to go into the settings so I can change a few settings here and there, and it just froze on me. So people say that Fedora is the new Ubuntu because Ubuntu is actually really popular. There is a reason why, because it just works. It's like a Windows of Linux world. I know people hate Ubuntu for, let's say, Snap, package manager and all that, but I don't have any problem with that Snap thingy because thanks to Snap, I can run 2 OBS studios at the same time. And this is something that I actually want to do. And this is something that I actually do on Windows too. I have like 5, 6 OBS studios, portable OBS studios on Windows with different settings for recording and doing different things. And I have saved them on separate drive and I launch it from that so I don't have to download and reconfigure OBS again and again. So I can do the similar thing on Ubuntu, but my limitation is that I can only use 2 OBS studios, one from Source or FlatHub and one from Snap, which is actually a portable version, and they work together alongside. But Snap also gave me a problem that I can't select the external recording location. Canonical, you need to fix that, you know. So basically, if I want to save my recordings to external drive or secondary drive, I can't do it because it won't allow me to do it. Yeah, it's whatever. Okay, there are good things and bad things in everything. So yeah. Okay, actually you can install Snap on any system. It's not like you can't. The thing is that Ubuntu comes with it. Okay, some people just don't like Snap. So my advice for the new Linux user is to try a Linux distro that is based on Ubuntu, or just go with the Ubuntu, especially right now, because Ubuntu 24.10 is actually really good. It has the latest kernel, plus it works really well with the NVIDIA graphics drivers. Wayland is default, and that default Wayland actually works really well. Again, I have said this multiple times. Now I have like 90% less issues on this version of Ubuntu. There are like thousands of Linux distros, which can make a new Linux user really confused. I myself, it took me 6 months to make this video, and it took me almost like 3 to 4 months to settle on Ubuntu. It's been like 2 months I have been using Ubuntu, and almost like 1 month I have been using Ubuntu 24.10. Before this, I almost gave up. Yeah, I almost gave up on Linux, and I was like, I'm not gonna make video on Linux. Frick this. Okay, but things are getting better. If people say you need to try this, that, I mean, don't listen to them. Okay, I mean, yeah, anything that is popular will always be better. Trust me. On OS side, okay. I'm not saying for everything. So the most popular Linux distro is Ubuntu. So if you use this, you'll have much better experience as a new Linux user. That's the only point here. Okay, if you're an expert, yeah, you can use any Linux, it doesn't matter. But for a new Linux user, use Ubuntu or Ubuntu based distros. This will make your life much easier if you want to try Linux or want to switch to Linux. If Ubuntu doesn't work, then you just have to know that Linux is not ready for you, and just leave, quit, or something. Okay, otherwise you'll be scratching your head all the time trying to fix the issues and all that. Okay, it's using Linux is like playing a video game. It's addictive actually, because Linux is free and open source. Almost all the Linux distros are free and open source, and highly customizable, more secure. I'm not gonna say more stable. We'll talk about that as we go through this video. Okay, so those things alone will make you think like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, this looks so good. I can customize it and all that. Once you finish all those things like customizing and trying out the different Linux distros, and then you actually try to work something on that Linux machine, then you'll realize that most of the things doesn't work. Something will always break. There is always something that needs to be configured through the terminal or config file or something. Once you reach to this point, you want to fix that. No, I want to use Linux. I'll fix it. I spent almost like 1 or 2 days fixing just simple issue. Okay, that's how addictive Linux can be if you are really into Linux, like you really like the Linux. So yeah, it's like playing a video game, because you really like it at first glance, and then you go deeper and deeper, and you want to find out what's inside. Okay, so you will not exit until you find out what's up or what's inside. Okay, there is one more thing that I want to point out. Most people try out Linux on virtual machine. Okay, that's what most people recommend. It's good for look and feel. It's not good for actual use. Okay, if possible, try Linux on real hardware. Then you'll know how Linux works, or how things break, and how to solve the issues that you will be facing, or all that. All I have to say here is that using Linux on virtual machine and real hardware, there is a huge gap. Yeah, trust me. If you have a spare laptop or something, you should try the Linux on that. Then your Linux journey will begin. Virtual machine? No. Yeah, I mean, again, look and feel, it's okay, but for actual use and for actual experience, real hardware. Now, let's talk about the gaming actually. As you guys know, for gaming, there is nothing better than Windows, okay? If you're a gamer, you're gonna use Windows and all that, but Linux can actually run some games. There are some native Linux games which are whatever, but there are ways to run Windows games on Linux through Steam and Proton thingy, and there are many other applications which lets you run Windows games on Linux. But what I have found is that the Windows games on Linux actually do not work or perform that well. Okay, I'm just going to give you guys a small example because it's not a native Linux game. Okay, it's a Windows game. Let's say, for example, this is a, which one is it? Yeah, this one. This is a Ark Survival. I'm playing a Ark Survival on Linux. Yeah, this same machine. And look at the GPU usage. It's constant 99%. It's a GPU intensive game. Even if you're not doing anything on the game, the GPU uses is constant, at least for me. Okay, it's RTX 2070. Now, I did the same thing. I was like, wow, why is this like so high on Linux? And I installed Ark Survival on Windows. I think I need to rotate it. So now on Windows, since the games are made for Windows, Windows can optimize the system or game really well because it's a Windows game. It's made for Windows. So Windows can, whenever it needs more power, more GPU power, it's gonna obviously go 100% if the game needs 100% of the GPU power. But when game doesn't need that much power, it's gonna drop it. Linux is not ready for gaming, let's just say that, okay? For now, there are compatibility layers and all that. Yeah, you can run Windows games depending on the game. Some games will run better, some games will run worse. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of true too. Like some games actually run better on Linux than Windows that are actually Windows games. But still, it is not a Linux game. And if you're playing some heavy, GPU intensive or CPU intensive game on Linux, it's gonna go crazy. Your CPU or GPU will go crazy. Okay, but Minecraft runs really well. I also did a video actually. Minecraft, where is it? Because Minecraft is actually officially supported on Linux. Yeah, that's why it runs really well. And there are many other issues. Like I think this is a War Thunder game that I tested. I think it is natively supported on Linux. As soon as I opened the game, I was confused because the game was on both screens for some reason. It took me some time to make the game to run on only one screen. So these are just small problems, I guess. But yeah, it's like Linux or the game itself doesn't know what to do when you have dual monitors. For gaming, Linux is not ready for real because let's just say, you play Valorant. It is a really popular game, but it's not gonna run on your system because it has the anti-cheat and all that. So any new game that comes out, it's not going to be available for Linux. Let's say, for example, recently I started playing a game called Strinova, which is a kind of Valorant-like game, and the game is not available for Linux. So, I mean, if you're a hardcore gamer, you play every new game, or you want the good gaming experience, yeah, Linux is not ready. Okay, it actually depends on what types of game you play. If you're into like online FPS games, shooter games, competitive games, no. But if it's like offline storytelling or something game, yeah, I think almost all the games will run on Linux. Now, let's talk about my perspective on Linux, what I think about Linux. Okay, this is the main point. As a desktop, there is nothing better than Linux. I mean, it's customizable, it looks good, it's beautiful, it's, consistent with the design, everything, unlike the Windows, it's super inconsistent, the Windows. So if you look at that way, I mean, wow, Linux is so good. But as soon as it comes to like the software and game support, it falls apart. I think this is just, universal issue of Linux. Not even Linux issue. The devs who make the softwares and games, they don't want to make it for Linux because the Linux user base is small, tiny. I think it's 1.4 or I think it's, let me actually check. 4.5 actually people are using Linux. This is good news for Linux actually. Wow, okay. This is huge. It's growing slowly because day by day Linux is actually getting better and better. Again, as I said, I almost gave up on making this video because Linux was not working properly for me. Okay, I was getting countless errors and whatnot. But as soon as I tried the new kernel plus the new drivers with plus new, this thing, what do you call it? Ubuntu. Yeah, Ubuntu version 24.10. Everything just ran really well. Yeah, I'm like recording this video from Linux and it's running really well. So that is the only problem, the software support. Otherwise, Linux is actually pretty good. I'm not going to say Linux operating system is a stable operating system because it is actually not. Okay, it's actually not that great when it comes to stability. You'll always find something broken, something crashing or something. Maybe due to your lack of knowledge because you don't know that you need to configure the file of that program or certain thing to actually make it work. How would you know that actually? Because if you're a noob, you'll never know that. Okay, you need to change that in the config file to make that thing work. There is no way to know that unless you do the Google search. When you do the Google search, you'll find like thousands of opinion and thousands of different comments about different solution on same topic, which is kind of confusing. Even right now, when I was starting to record this video, when I was preparing, I got a couple of errors. And error occur while recording. Couldn't utilize Muxer. Never had that error on other systems or not even in Linux. I don't know, what is this? This is the error that I got out of nowhere. And I had to click OK and then close the OBS and then start it again. You never know what's going to pop up. That's the problem of Linux actually. It's actually not that stable. And there is the another one. Some other application which I use to configure my webcam, this one, crashed on me multiple times actually. And I don't know why it happens all the time. Okay, so this is an app called GUVC View. So basically this is the app where you can record or configure webcam settings. Maybe it's the system problem or the app itself, or maybe some config files are messed up. I don't know. There is no way to know it. But when I closed it and then relaunched it, it worked. And so on. There are countless errors you'll encounter. Depending on what distro you're using, like the system will just not respond. Like for example, in this one, I was trying to reboot the system and it just didn't work and it refused to open the system settings and all that. Some people will say X11 is better because it's old and it's stable, reliable. Some say Wayland is better because it's future proof and all that. Now here I am. I can't decide where I want to put myself into, X11 or Wayland, and I know where I want to go. I want to go to the future-proof side, Wayland, because it is a new thing and things actually work better on the Wayland side, but it's still in like development state. There are some things which will break things. X11 is more stable, but anything that is made for Wayland will not work on X11, but anything that is made for X11 that will actually work on Wayland. It will depend on the distro, how well the Wayland thingy is optimized or created. Actually, let's talk about this. There is a new desktop environment coming to Linux. It's already out, but it is still in like beta, actually alpha. It's not even in beta. This thing is actually really good as a desktop environment because it gives you the GNOME feel. Actually, it looks like most people actually prefer GNOME, so they also went with the GNOME look. And this thing is Wayland default. There is no X11, and there is a setting in Cosmic Desktop for the X11 settings. So if you want to run a X11 apps on Wayland, it will support very well. Actually, I'm not gonna talk too much. Just final word. Okay, let's just end this here. Yeah, things are actually rapidly improving day by day, but it's not ready yet for a regular user. That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, it's good. I think I have explained almost all the things here. At this point, I'm just gonna repeat myself. As a desktop, Linux is wonderful. Okay, there is nothing better than Linux. But when it comes to app support and also stability, Linux isn't that good. So Windows is actually solid operating system. It's almost like unbreakable, at least for the normal user. Intentionally, maybe you can, but unintentionally, you cannot. Nothing can break it unless you get some virus or something like that. Okay, that's another thing. So here is the thing. It's impossible for me to switch to Linux for now because there are hardly anything that I can do in Linux. I cannot work properly. Even if I use it, like it's usable, but I'm always worried about these errors popping up. Like I always have to recheck everything. Like I start the OBS studio and just leave it and start talking. Let's say I'm making a video. I don't know, there is an error, maybe some random error that I never saw or something. I'm always afraid of that. I have to double check every time I'm doing something on Linux. Maybe this thing is broken or that. So that's that. But this is actually much better than the ones that I used in the past. Even the previous version of Ubuntu was terrible compared to this new version. Again, as I said, Linux is still in like development. It's improving day by day, but it's not ready. That's what I'm trying to say here. Plus, I can't game, nothing like that. But as a Linux desktop, I really like it. Maybe I'll keep it as a dual boot and I'll keep using Linux side by side with Windows. But my plan was actually to switch to Linux completely, but again, I think it's not ready. Let's be honest here. Maybe the Cosmic Desktop will make Linux desktop more stable, and I'll switch to Cosmic from GNOME. I'm not saying GNOME is bad, but I feel like the Cosmic will be better version of GNOME. Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. So yeah, I think that's it for this one. I'm quite happy. It's been almost an hour now. I've been talking here, and luckily the OBS didn't crash. 4.5% is a huge. Okay, it's growing. Linux is growing, plus it's getting better and better, but again, it's not ready yet. You know, one more question maybe everybody's gonna ask, why you want to switch to Linux? First of all, Windows is great operating system. It just works, but slowly Windows is getting more and more bloated, plus Microsoft is adding like some useless features like the recall. Sometimes you can't even remove them. You know, Windows isn't the problem. Windows isn't the problem. The problem is the maker of Windows. Even the system requirements are getting crazier and crazier. I think in coming like 2 or 3 years, this PC won't be able to run Windows 11 because of the system requirements. I mean, you can bypass the system requirements and all that, but I'm just talking about the, you know, as a normal person or normal user without any knowledge. Let's just say that Windows as an operating system is good, but it's getting worse and worse every single day. If Microsoft adds the new features and all that, they should make all the new features optional. Sometimes they don't even notify you that they have added something on the system. You find out about that from somewhere else. Microsoft doesn't even say that, yeah, we have added this feature, come on, use it, or I don't know if I want to use it or not. Like for example, recently Windows 11 24H2 has a recall feature enabled by default, which nobody knew. But someone find out about this, and then I had to check it by myself, and I saw that it was enabled. I had to disable it. As an operating system, again, it's solid, but it's getting worse. Not the Windows itself, the maker of Windows. Okay, so that's the main reason why I want to switch to Linux. Okay, it's like I don't want to have all the features that Microsoft is putting onto the Windows, but I have no choice because Windows just works, and I guess I'll keep debloating, keep removing the Windows features as long as I can. And the day when Linux becomes more popular, I'm gonna switch to Linux. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that day. But for now, again, I'm a Windows user and using Linux as a dual boot. I don't know if I'm gonna make Linux tutorials and all that, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm talking too much, but yeah, this is my Linux journey. It's wonderful, but yeah, I already gave you guys my opinion and all that, but yeah, it was fun. It was a fun game for me, but also at the same time, a lot of headaches. I think it's time to end the headaches because I know which Linux distro to use if I want to use it. And yeah, that's it. That's the only thing that matters for now. Okay, that's it. We can talk about this in the comments section too if you have anything to say. So that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself and have fun. Bye bye.